Dale, let's look at how you could use Airtable as a billing calculator tool for your RIA. Now, you could use this as a double check against your billing software, or you could use this as your billing software and generate the invoices straight out of Airtable. But for now, let's just focus on running the calculations themselves. So I have a table built out showing the fee schedules for this hypothetical firm. Let's say they're using a pretty typical tiered schedule that charges different percentages at different tiers. So for example, we have a default schedule that's charging 1% on the first 500K. Between 500 and a million, it's charging 0.8%. Between a million and 3 million, 0.7%, and so on and so forth, up until that top rate of 0.5% above $5 million. Next, let's assume we have a couple different alternative fee schedules. One is a flat 1% on all assets. That's represented by saying basically all the way up to $1 billion. So essentially all the AUM a client would have with you is charged at 1%. And then we have a discounted friends and family rate where the first million is charged at 0.8% and everything else is charged at 0.5%. So great, we have the fee schedules built in. How can we actually use these to run calculations? Let's go over to the households table and look at this view called fee audit, which is filtered to show me only my clients who have positive AUM, right? Have AUM with us. The first thing we need to do is build a relationship between the fee schedules and the clients. So we do that by dropping in a linked reference to the fee schedules and basically saying, for Victor Arnold, use the default fee schedule. For Ari Kubo, use the flat 1%. And for Daniel and Craig, use the friends and family. Now, once we have that, we can start to run our actual calculations. To do so, we need to essentially look up what tier the client is in within their fee schedule. So for example, Victor Arnold is in tier 3 of the default schedule. Ari Kubo is in tier 1 of the flat 1% because there's only one tier to that schedule. And Daniel and Craig are in tier 2 of the friends and family. Once we have that, we can run basically a big if statement to find what tier they're in and run the calculation for the AUM. Essentially, all this is doing is bucketing the fee tiers together with the AUM or with the percentage charts for each of those, saying this much money is in tier 1, this much in tier 3, and so on and so forth, and then summing it all together. So once we have that, we can see the fee for the current quarter for any client, see their blended fee, and see their annualized fee of AUM, which is constant for the entire year. We can also see some summary information for that. So we can see for these clients, we're getting 28,500 of fee this quarter. We're getting a blended fee of 80 basis points and an annualized fee of about 115K. So that's all well and good to run the default calculations, but we could also use this to run some projections. So let's start making some changes and see how the data updates quickly. First, what if Claire and Henry added an extra $1 million to their portfolio with you? We can make that change and very quickly see how these numbers are going to update to show what the new revenue would be on a quarter basis, what the blended revenue or blended fee is, and what the annualized number is. Let's reset that, and the next thing we're going to look at is what would happen if Ari Kubo moved from the flat 1% rate onto the default fee schedule. So all we have to do is remove the relationship to the flat 1% schedule and add a new relationship to default, give that a moment, and that will recalculate as well. Last thing, what would happen if we made wholesale changes to our fee schedule? So let's give this a moment to reset and look and say we have an 80 basis point blended fee for these clients. What if we wanted to charge 1% up to the first 750K rather than the first 500K? Make that change. We can go over here and look and see that after a moment, the average fee is recalculated and it's at 0.81% rather than 0.80%. So you could use this as a way to, for instance, determine if it's worthwhile to make that change, go back to your clients for a 1 basis point change to your fee schedule in that regard. So let's reset that. That's all well and good to look at everything in spreadsheet mode, but let's move over to the interfaces where we can see things in a little bit more of a friendly UI. First, I'm on a household homepage that shows a bunch of information that might be relevant every time you're looking at a client household. But for now, we can just look down and see that we have the fees shown for the current quarter and an annualized number. Next, we can go over to this fee dashboard, which is showing us what our current AUM is, what the current billing is for this quarter, what that annualized number is, and again, that global blended fee. We can also see how many clients are in each of the 3 fee schedules, and we can click into any of these to see what the underlying data is that's influencing this number. So this is just one build to show you how you could represent your billing calculations and projections. You could build this in any myriad ways because the whole benefit of Airtable is that it's a sandbox where you can do whatever you want, however your firm wants to do planning, rather than being kind of forced into the boxes that the other providers might try to set you into. So if you're curious about using Airtable as a billing calculation or projection, or anything else in the system, feel free to ask away. Thanks.